Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us today. We are here to show you a product showcase of our IT ticketing system in Office 365 and Teams. My name is Krista White. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Crow Canyon, and I'm joined today by Jeff Priest, our COO, and Ryan Stefani, our Solutions Architect. We are Crow Canyon Software. We've been around for 24 years now, and we are GSA certified. We're also a Microsoft preferred business application, and we are a California certified small business. So we've got a lot to cover today. I'm not going to take up too much time, but a couple housekeeping things before we jump into it. First of all, this will be recorded, so if you have any questions, if you want to take any notes or anything, you will get a recording. So if you've registered, we will email you that recording tomorrow. It'll also be posted on our YouTube channel and on our website. And if you do have questions as we go through it, don't be shy. Go ahead and use that question box on the right-hand side there. We're here for you. We want this to be as interactive as possible. And last but not least, we're going to keep it high level today. There's a whole lot that we can go into with the ticketing system. There are so many ways to customize it and make it do all kinds of different things for you based on your needs. We could spend a whole lot of time diving into it. So I would encourage you to schedule a one-on-one demo after this webinar. But we'll give you a good overview of everything that it can do, and then we can talk with you one-on-one about your specific needs. So with that being said, I would like to go ahead and introduce Jeff Priest. Jeff, let's go ahead and get us started today. Can you hear me, Jeff?
So sorry, Chris. I don't know if I'm having a technical challenge here, but I lost your voice. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you now, yes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Ryan, can you hear me okay? Okay, super.
Yeah, we got you.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much for the introduction. Yeah. I don't know if there's who knows what's going on, but we do love technology, and we as a company have been building software for, as Krista mentioned, almost 24 years. And our focus in those 24 years have been around ticketing systems in particular. So we have deep expertise in ticketing systems. And what that means is several things to different people, but request management of different types. Today we're going to be talking about IT ticketing in particular. But before we get started, let's talk a little bit about who we are and what we do. And who we are is we are focused on driving business process automation using our core tools in Microsoft 365 and SharePoint. And so in those those applications that we build, those out-of-the-box applications have come from requests over the course of time. So any type of use case-based application such as IT ticketing, we have purchase requests, there's leave requests, there's asset management, there's a number of different out-of-the-box applications that we sell that are plug and play in the M365 tenant. All those applications are built off our core platform called NITRO Studio. And NITRO Studio as a platform is a builder platform, but these individual out-of-the-box applications use that NITRO Studio as its core foundation. And so NITRO Studio has forms tools, there's workflow, there's other things in that tool that allow the configuration and building of these applications. On top of that, for us, we're big advocates of driving productivity and efficiency, and we do that through the use of automation and AI, chatbots, what we call, instead of calling it the chatbot, which is sometimes we feel that maybe that name sometimes has a negative connotation based on people's experiences, we call that our NITRO Engage app, is to allow end users to interact and submit tickets via Teams, as well as other things as well. So let's go ahead to the next slide, Krista. So the question, that we want to, we get this asked every once in a while. In fact, we just had a demo yesterday. Ryan had a demo I sat on where someone says, "Hey, is Power Platform the underlying tool of your solutions? The answer is no. We actually built our NITRO Studio prior to Power Platform, kind of in its current form, prior to Power Platform being released. And we needed a tool, a core tool ourselves to build our own solutions. And so NITRO Studio is born. And NITRO Studio is really centered around driving cost savings. Our solutions themselves, you know, as we sell them, are supported under I think, a very robust team that is incredibly knowledgeable to support our customers to ensure their success. We build these tools that are focused on users, primarily citizen developers. Ease of use is a big topic for us internally, of trying to figure out how to simplify our tools to make this something that a citizen developer could use, rather than somebody that's, you know, an engineer or a developer or somebody that's highly technical. There is a deep feature set, as you'll see when we jump into our demo with Ryan, that there's a very full featured set that allows, you know, the scalability of these tools. And then we say real Teams integration. Ryan will explain this to you as we go into the demo, what that means and what that looks like. And so we'll jump into that demo here in just a bit and show you what that means. So some of the new features, we are constantly driving change within the solutions. And in this particular case, our IT ticketing system, we've just released a new version called NITRO Help Desk, NITRO Ticketing for IT. We've listened to feedback over the course of time, and through competitive analysis, we've introduced some what we're really excited about, some of these new features like SLAs. So service level agreements, they're highly configurable. Ryan will jump into that as well. Detailed time tracking, surveys, so understanding how your customers feel about your team's response to their issues, as well as that we mentioned already, integration with Team, NITRO Engage Bot, and we're always mobile first. And so we understand that, you know, mobility is a thing today it's not a nice to have anymore. It's a must have. So that's our approach to building solutions. So as we get into this, I think that we say this, you know, along with the classic features is what? Well, this is kind of going back to basics, is this idea of easily creating and tracking tickets, you know, for both end users as well as your technicians. Things like auto assignment or notifications or approvals are in these feature sets that we have. The idea of omni-channel access. So omni-channel access in multiple ways in which we can intake tickets. So that might be email, very common still out there. People still want to use email to use as a system itself. But the nice thing is we can convert the email right into the ticket within IT ticketing system, and then that becomes the system of record. Things like problem and change request. Ryan will go in and show you how we take a ticket or multiple tickets with the same issue. How do we turn those into a problem and do a many-to-one scenario? And then, of course, if there's something that's going to require a change request, what does that process look like, and how do we track that? So I guess without further ado, you don't want to hear me talking. I think you want to see some things today. So I think that Ryan has prepared an exciting demo for us that will showcase the core features of our IT ticketing system. I think he's going to show quite a bit today. But there's certainly always an opportunity to do a deeper dive. And so we post a webinar today. We'd love to set up individual demos for you if you guys are interested in going down that path. So Ryan, it's all you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Krista. Thanks for the lead in. Yeah, so we're going to talk about the help desk kind of in generalities, top to bottom. And how I'm going to tackle it today is looking at the help desk from the lenses of the three typical groups that work within a help desk, right? That being end user, technicians, and then admins. I'm going to bounce back and forth a little bit between those different groups because I think it's important as we progress through the demo. I'm going to try to be clear and concise, where we are with what group, and then if any questions do come up, throw those in the chat. We'll answer them as they come. But yeah, what we're looking at right now is the NITRO layer of our NITRO help desk. So what Jeff was mentioning, NITRO Studio is the backbone of our tool set. Now, our applications are all built inside of your Office 365 environment, right? So these are SharePoint sites leveraging your Office 365 tenancy. SharePoint on-prem as well, I should say. Sorry, I've been so 365 focused. We do offer our tools for SharePoint on-prem, GCC High, as well as the Office 365 cloud. So positives are you guys control the data, right? All of this sits inside of your space. There's no third-party tool set. You're not logging into a Crow Canyon server. There's not additional passwords you have to admin for your end users, right? They get to use their Office 365 login to access the tool set. So what does that mean, right? It gives you the keys to the car in the sense you get access to NITRO Studio because it's in your tenancy, right? You're going to have control or like I said, access to these NITRO web parts. So it gives us configurability, customizability. Is that a word? I think so. Yeah. So go in and make changes to our help desk after the fact. Now, I'm not going to touch too heavily on the individual pieces of NITRO Studio. I'll get lost in the weeds. So if you are interested in seeing, NITRO as a standalone product, reach out to us, let us know. I'll be happy to do a demo of that individually. But I am going to talk about, various aspects and how NITRO plays into the help desk. And tying that piece back to what I was mentioning earlier, let's start with our end users. Okay, like Jeff said, email, right? I think my favorite, kind of canned response when I talk to people around ticketing or talk to people coming in, they're doing demos with me, is that folks are always going to regress back to their lowest level of training. So if it is, clicked on the wrong button, if it is sending emails, right, we still want to be able to capture tickets via email, right? And in SharePoint or 365 out of the box, that's a little bit of a limitation. So the first thing we're going to touch on is actually a NITRO feature called email and text sync. What it is, pretty simply, being able to submit an email and do a shared inbox and have that email create a ticket, right? Who it's from, title of the email, body of the email that gets mapped into the request. And then being able to take like attachments, the original email, and even one step further, parsing the title or the header of the email or the body of the email to map to particular columns, right? Now, one of the questions I get around email is like, well, what if they respond to, an email, or what if we're having normal conversations in that inbox, that distribution email? Like, how is that going to cut down on duplicate tickets? You can see this email filter settings allows us to cut down on that, right? We're not going to see duplicate tickets. There's some other features here around email manager, which we'll touch on later, that also helps with that, but it does avoid that, that duplication or multiple tickets being created from a single email thread. Now, as we kind of follow this maturation process, right, of tickets being created, email is always first, going back to, our origins of Outlook on Client, right? Public folders in Outlook on Client, email, ticket creation. Then when 365 came around, it was this idea of a self-service portal, right? Giving end users the ability to say, go to a portal, submit a request, view your request, view your knowledge base. And that's what you're seeing here. Now, one of the things I do want to highlight is just kind of the ease of integration with Office 365, right? You can see it's pulled in my logged in information into the ticket. And then as an end user, I would be able to come in and fill out my request, right? Select my dropdown of what type of request it is, cascading dropdowns, right? I get a lot of questions about that. Well, how can they select their ticket type? Screenshots, copy, paste, this is rich text. Then the end users get the warm and fuzzy, they hit save, ticket gets created successfully. Now they can view and track their tickets as a part of this portal, right? They can come in and see statuses, have any notes been left for them. Obviously I have a lot, right? It's my demo site, but it gives them a little bit of visibility into that back end department, whether it's IT or really anyone managing and maintaining a request. Now, while I'm here, I kind of want to touch on the Forms tool a little bit. So I mentioned I was going to go through pieces of NITRO Studio as I work through the demo. And one of the features I want to highlight right here is our Forms tool. So this is something I think that we do really well. And I don't know if we talk about it enough. I think it just becomes so inherent with who we are and what we do that it kind of goes unsaid. However, I like it. So I'm going to show it. So I'm going to talk about the tickets form. So what you're looking at right now is the end user submitting a request on the tickets list, right? So I'm shifting now to the back end, right? I've gone to NITRO Studio, I'm an admin, and I clicked on the forms tool, I'm gonna pull up the ticket form and what that interface looks like internally. So now the really interesting thing I'm trying to point out here is the fact that we can have 2 forms per list. So one of the inherent limitations to Office 365 out of the box is this idea of permissions, right? How do I keep my end users and my technicians separate, right? I don't want end users in the backend application, but I still want them to be able to submit requests through a portal or through Teams, which we're going to talk about in a second. So it just gives us that ability to present an end user interface, a portal ticket, as well as a technician interface, a backend form, right? It keeps things separate. We don't have to get into that terrible item level permission that is, such a negative connotation in SharePoint. It's a nice, clean, easy way to keep things segregated from an end user technician perspective. Now, one of the other things that, or one of the last option of ticket creation, I'm sorry, webinars. My dog's about to drink water out of her bowl, and we're going to save everyone the agony of having to listen to her lap up water. Okay, so Teams integrations, right? Okay, so Jeff mentioned earlier, like, how do we, like, what is a real Teams integration? So a lot of people in the space will say, like, oh, we're Teams integrated, and they'll show something like this on the screen, right? And anytime you work with like an Office 365 or company, we're going to be developing on SharePoint. We can't hide that away, right? This is a SharePoint site. It's a SharePoint list, SharePoint libraries. So basically what we're doing in this instance is we're replicating SharePoint as a part of Teams. You can go in, you can add a URL, right? A website, and basically copy that website into the body of a team. Okay, it works okay, right? But we lose that, inherent permission structure we built out with the portal, because the portal becomes its own site in this space, right? Its own site, portal help desk portal site versus help desk 2023, right? So by throwing this into a team, it really will, I think it creates more problems than it solves. Creating a team creates a back-end group. It just gets into the nitty-gritty details of 365s that we don't have to. Okay, so now what's our solution? This is where NITRO Engage comes in. And what it does is I think the best way to describe it is it's a guided experience for our end users. So instead of having them say go to a portal, right? What we can do is we can create the same experience for them through a chat feature. So anything from, say, submitting a ticket, right? And I want to submit a ticket, and having what we call an adaptive card or a form pop up in the body of the chat, right? Another cool feature is maybe they're chatting with you directly. Hey, Ryan, I need help with A, B, and C, or X, Y, and Z. You also have the ability to create a ticket directly from that chat interface. Okay, Ryan, typically we go through the portal to do this, or we use Engage, but in this time I'm going to create a ticket for you and have that be done through the chat, your individual chat. Again, the end goal is, we want to make it as easy as possible for our end users to submit requests, right? And we're trying to provide all options. Now, one of the cool things here too is, this is how we started, an adaptive card and inside of this Engage to get end users to submit a ticket, right? But one of the main features of our tool set is, or our ticketing system, I should say, is knowledge base, right? How do we help people actually self-serve? So you can see on the back end, shifting lens to the technician's view, right? We have these different KB articles embedded in the system, right? So how do we get end users to consume these? We leave them to their own devices. In a lot of cases, they're not going to come to the knowledge base and they're not going to say, all right, clear, how do I clear my browser cache, right? We just don't see that same effectiveness when, relying on them to self-serve. So like I was saying, how do we guide them through this experience, right? So instead of just providing them a form inside, a ticket form, what we can actually do is, well, I've said it like 5 times, but guide them through the process, right? So if they're having issues with clearing browser cache, they can type in their problem. And what it's going to do is not only is it pulling KB articles in this instance, but it's also going to search all like tickets they've submitted. So if this is a common issue, they see this pop up frequently, it can also show them previously closed tickets, right? Here's all the information that could possibly help you. However, the one problem potentially with this piece is like, okay, but it didn't solve my problem. What do I do now, right? And you see here, we still give them actionable items after the KB is suggested. So maybe they don't want to talk to maybe they don't want to go through a chat feature and they just want to submit a ticket. The end goal being we still want to capture as much information as possible so the ticket can be categorized appropriately, but still give end users a quick, easy way to submit requests and get those warm and fuzzies that, hey, it's been submitted successfully, right? Now I'm gonna pause there real quick and just kind of talk about this in like best practices or just from like more of a business sense, shifting out of the feature set. So I would say most people I talk to from a KB perspective, knowledge-based perspective, it's like 50-50, right? Sometimes they use it, sometimes they don't, or maybe they say, it's something we want to do. And it's interesting because I think using a tool in Office 365, it provides you a unique experience because you can grow into this, right? Going back to that original discussion of NITRO Studio, where you have ownership, the keys to the car, same principle here, right? So if I kind of wrap up the end user experience of, email submission, portal ticket submission, engage portal form submission through KB search, all of these are available and all can be turned on or turned off per your requirements, right? So the first 6 weeks, you want to only have email tickets be submitted. And then 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, you want to gradually roll these features out. They're all included. And it's just a simple matter of, let's make it available to that user base and gradually get them, submitting tickets in different or various ways. Okay, end users, right? Ticket comes in. Now from the IT's perspective, what happens, right? Well, first is notifications and ticket assignment, right? How do we get notified and who gets assigned to the request? And we're going to shift briefly to the admin center, right, to the back end, because that's where those things are configured. So notifications, real quick while I'm here. Typically, when I say notifications, it's around emails, right? Ticket creation, ticket assignment, ticket resolution. Hey, a new ticket's been created, and you can see who the requester is. You get an email, and we have control over what that email says. But out of the box, it's Ryan submitted a ticket. This is what he said. This is what he needs. Pretty common. It gives us the ability again to have flexible messaging here. And now, if I open my Outlook on this account, you could see those emails flooding in from those tickets I submitted, right? Here's those workflows working in real time, right? However, from an IT perspective, if you also want to have tickets or to view notifications or work tickets from Engage, you also have that ability. So let's say, I think my favorite example or use case for this is it's 5 o'clock on a Friday and Ryan hits you with the, I forgot my password ticket, right? It's like, okay, Ryan. And your SLA is running. We'll talk about SLAs in a second. It's like, okay, sweet. Okay. So now you're on your phone, right? You got Teams popped up on your phone. You see the ticket come in. You're like, okay, I'm going to grab it. I'm going to assign it to myself. And then you actually have, just like we presented to the end users, workflow options as a part of this interface. So I can add a note, like, hey, I'm gonna, we'll update your password on Monday, and be able to, stop the SLA process, or just, hey, communicate with the end user to say that, we're aware of the ticket, right? Maybe you're able to do it on the fly, and you want to resolve the ticket right away. Hey, okay, this was updated, and it just gives you that flexibility to not have to be tied to your machine to work tickets. Right? I mean, everyone's well, not everyone, but I think when the pandemic hit, right, it gave us a unique, a unique experience with Teams, right? Everyone had to use it, where people were maybe hesitant to adopt like Skype or other chat tools in the past. So now it's like just such a common interface in today's world that Teams is part of my life, right? It's on my phone, it's obviously on my machine, and it just makes it easy to go in and update items without having to log in, pull the site up, etc. So we want the end users to be able to have ease of access through Teams. We also want the technicians to have ease of access through Teams as well. So it provides both experiences. Now, ticket assignment. I'm going to stay here real quick, and then I'll shift to the back end. But when unassigned tickets do come in, you have that ability to also assign tickets to the appropriate person, right? Here's my clear browser cache ticket that we just created as a part of this Teams experience. So again, if you're like, on the move, right? You're on lunch and you're like, okay, yeah, I see this, and it's actually going to go to, someone in my team. I can assign it to someone on my team, or I can pick it up myself and say like, all right, I'll take care of this. And now the ticket's going to be assigned to me. All right. It's a proxy to the SharePoint site, but again, I can't stress this enough. Permissions, permissions, permissions. Keeps it clean, keeps it segregated. And then the commands even, you can see me working on this command list right here. Even these are permissioned appropriately, right? So only end users will have the ability to see their commands, and backend staff only have the ability to see commands associated to them, right? And here's all the subsequent notifications being fired off. Okay, so assigning tickets, working tickets through Teams. I just want to touch on that while I was here. I think it makes it a little bit more linear from a demo perspective. Now shifting back to that admin center I was showing earlier for notifications. If you do have certain people that own particular ticket types, networking is pretty common, or like you can say level 1, level 2, level 3 if you want to break it out that way. Essentially, you have the ability to create your own ticket types and then assign those ticket types to the appropriate people, right? So let's say I'm going to own this one. I can own it, or maybe we want to do a team, right? We can, it helps if I click on it. Right, maybe we want to do a team as well. So it goes to the team, but I actually get assigned to it. We have that ability, and then when those particular ticket types come in, they actually get assigned to me directly through our auto assignment feature. But if you're like, hey Ryan, we don't really do that. We just kind of look at the tickets and we assign it to the appropriate person. Totally fine as well. I think the thing we're trying to focus on here is the flexibility of the tool set. So you can do auto assignment round robin, or now if we switch to the technician interface, we go into the tool set, the IT ticketing system. I clicked away from it. Here we go, tickets. As a user, as a technician now, you can also see unassigned tickets coming in. So both as an individual, actually, yeah, let's open that up. I'm going to duplicate my screen here, and we're going to talk about the various users that inside of the ticketing system. So our manager's dashboard, right? I can see my 8 unassigned tickets. But let's say I'm a staff member and I have my tickets that I'm working, but I can also see, all unassigned tickets. So if something comes in that's like, oh yeah, it's an enhancement request, this is going to come to me, I'll go ahead and I'll just self-assign this, right? I'm going to grab it, run this custom action, which I'll talk about in a bit more detail later, and assign it to myself. Submit the notifications, right? End user gets notified that the ticket's been assigned to me. Or you're like, hey, you know what? This forgot password and this, need ABC ticket are gonna go to James. Oh, wait, click the wrong button, sorry. Forgot password, need ABC are gonna go to someone else. So you can choose like, all right, the first one is gonna go to James. I can apply, both can go to James in this case, or, maybe the second one's gonna go to Papa, right? So it gives us the ability to say like, yeah, you know what, we don't actually auto assign, but, we just kind of catch them as they come in so you can see them and quickly reassign or assign tickets as you see fit. Okay, end user, workflow, ticket creation, ticket assignment, ticket notification. So we're at the point now where our technicians are going to work the ticket. Now, if you're like, hey, Ryan, oh, hold on, let me talk about it first. One step ahead. So our ticket form, right? We have various tabs on our ticket form, and basically our first tab is any information captured on the ticket. What ticket type is it? Who submitted it? You know, information related to the request. But you're like, hey, Ryan, you know, like this is great. Form's really nice. It works, but I want to capture more information or different information. So in the Forms tool, we have the ability to come in and make changes, right? The end user interface, Jeff mentioned this during his intro, is intended to be user centric, right? So maybe you don't need additional information. You want to select and remove that column. Or you want to go under form controls and you want to add in, or you want to add it back, right? The intention is that it's supposed to be very drag and drop, very WYSIWYG. Now there's a lot of features on the Forms tool. Like I said, I can spend hours just on this piece. My goal here is to show you that if the form doesn't look exactly the way you want it to, we do have complete control over what it looks like, what information we're capturing to match the requirements internally, right? So as a part of the demo, we'll walk through what we have out of the box, but at any point in time, it pops in your head like, hey, can I make changes to this form, the change request form, the problem form? Absolutely. And it's very, very simple and straightforward. Okay, first tab, captured information from the end user's request, right? Second tab, staff tab, who's assigned, right? And now our due dates. Cool. So I'm going to come in and update the due date on this one. This is, I think it's cool. Maybe call me a nerd, but I think it's cool. This is tying into our SLA features. So this is a really big piece. It's actually really interesting. I think it's the best in the space of Office 365 after a lot of testing and searching, you know, through other tools and systems. Basically, it gives us the ability to configure unique SLAs related to a ticket or certain conditions related to a ticket. Let me show you what I mean. I actually have it preloaded right here. So before I get too far into it, this is kind of similar to KB articles, right? I mean, I talk to a lot of folks, do a lot of demos every week, and you know, going back to that original discussion around knowledge base is, you know, maybe we're not using it, or, you know, unequivocally, yes, we have SLAs, we have KBs, right? We absolutely use them. How can we replicate our SLA process in your system, right? We'll show that. But if you're like, hey, you know, we want to do SLAs, we're not quite, you know, we're still fleshing that out, but we want to eventually. And going back to that conversation of, hey, 6 weeks, 6 months, a year down the road, we can always add as we see fit. And it's very easy to come in and add new SLA policies or start to build this out, but not actually enable them, right? So you can build these, create policies, and then when you're ready, turn them on. Okay. So now when you're creating SLA policies, it's actually really cool. And this is going to be pretty common across what we do in Nitro Studio, and that is an easy way to select conditions. Okay, so maybe like, what is this one? What do I do? CEO. Okay, so Scott comes in, Scott Receivable, our CEO, comes in and he creates a ticket in our ticketing system. All right, so what do we want to do? Well, we want to handle that with, you know, utmost urgency. So we're going to add a condition. We're going to say like, okay, when the requester, alphabetical, Ryan, there we go. When the requester is equal to, another shameless plug, tie into Active Directory or Office 365 profiles, right? Scott, we want to reply in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We want to have a resolution in 60 minutes, right? If it's a high priority. Heck, maybe we just want to reply in 15 minutes across the board, right? You know, so it gives us that flexibility based on conditions as well as groups of conditions, right? Hey, it's equal to Scott and the status or the category of the ticket is a network problem, right? We don't want him to have any network issues, so we're going to say like, all right, it's a network problem. It just gives us that, well, complete flexibility to create SLAs to match your, you know, current requirements. Simple as saving and adding them. So you know what, I'm gonna take a pause here because what I want to talk about this is plugging our support team, plugging our development team real quick while I'm here. This is really cool. The SLA feature is a really cool feature. I mean, to be able to create SLAs like that on the fly in Office 365, like they told me that we were going to be able to do it, and I was like, yeah, sure, we'll see. You know, they exceeded all my expectations, and I will say that this is coming off the backs of working with clients. So customers of ours who helped us pioneer our SLA feature as a part of our new help desk. Our team being open to the feedback and working with you know, clients to make this as well nice as possible, right? As you know, feature rich as possible. So I will say that they do take feedback well. We do take feedback to heart, and if it makes sense, we will add it to our tool set. So quick sidestep, but I just wanted to mention that while I was thinking about it. Yeah, okay, so that's SLAs. So back to the ticket form, right? So shifting away from admins, back to technicians. Quick recap, information captured from the user, who's assigned to the request, due date, SLAs, right? Different SLAs based on different request types if we want them. Resolution is what goes out to our end users, right? This is what's going to be auto sent when we resolve a ticket in this case, right? This is rich text as well. Screenshots, copy paste. But if you're like, hey Ryan, I have a KB article that solves this problem. Can I send it to the end user? Absolutely. Just like we showed in the front end interface for the end user, how they can self-serve, right? And search KB specific to them. We also have this internal KB article library, technician specific to handle these particular request types, right? So be able to clear, like we'll use clear browser cache since we were on this earlier. Maybe we want to send them this article. Hey, this will solve your problem. You mark it as resolved, right? You click on that KB and it will send them that KB as a part of this resolution and saves you that duplicate entry, right? Now, maybe this certain ticket has provided you the ability to build your KB article library. Hey, this is going to be a fix moving forward, right? You can actually create KB articles as well from the ticket. So it's going to map information over from the ticket, like type, category, description, and auto create those KBs for you. Just makes it nice, makes it easy. Work log is work log. Date and timestamps, notes. You know, if this is internal only, so only text can see it. It's just gonna, you know, if you have multiple people working on it or just want to keep track of the ticket itself, you have a work log. While I'm here though, talking about communicating with the end user, like sending them KBs, I also want to talk about another feature of NITRO Studio called Email Manager. And sounds fancy. Oh, that's form, sorry. Pretty straightforward. What it is it basically gives you the ability to send an email from a ticket, right? So what are we actually doing? In this case, we are sending an email from, well, my inbox, could be a shared inbox, and it's going to the requester. So I equate it to like signatures and Outlook on client for those who remember that, right? Like being able to have different templates. Oh, like this signature is password reset, or this signature is my default response. So instead of having to, Ryan's got to reset his password again. Hold on, let me retype that email and send it to him. You're in the ticket, you hit send email, right? You can send it from the shared inbox. So we're actually sending it from this inbox. We're going to send him the password reset email. Warm and fuzzies, right? So what are we doing? We're actually just sending an email, but now we're relating it to the ticket. So we can see all incoming or all outgoing and incoming emails related to this request. So if I respond, right? If I come in and I respond to this request, it will also track my email, right? Oh, okay, this worked, right? Close ticket. So it gives us the ability to communicate now more effectively through Outlook, as opposed to, well, copying and pasting that information from Outlook into, the item in this case. So I like it. It's nice. It's a nice little fun feature. Okay, Oh, tasks. Oh, I was gonna move on. Shoot, tasks. This is actually, yeah, this comes up a lot. So we think of like the tickets list as the parent item, like parent to child relationship. Task is gonna be the child item in this case. So why is this pertinent? Maybe we need to collaborate with multiple people within IT on a particular ticket type. Most common request, new user, right? I'm onboarding somebody and an onboard ticket may be submitted, right? But you're like, okay, well, it's more than just a new user request. I got to add to Active Directory, right? I need to assign them a laptop, and I basically need to have all of these subtasks and almost track it like a project, right? So now what we can, with this task list, oh my goodness, there we go. With this task list, it gives us that ability to delegate tasks, track tasks against a parent ticket. This feature is called associated items. Now, for those who are familiar with SharePoint on-premise or InfoPath, there used to be a feature there called repeating rows. This is our iteration of repeating rows. So we're actually connecting that parent list to tickets list to child's list, task list. Presents it as a table format in the form. So instead of having to track, tasks in one list, again, we have to worry about permissions if we do that, form flexibility, form load time. By breaking it out to the sub list, but still being able to see it from the parent, not only just makes navigation easier, but also alleviates all those other issues I just mentioned. Now, this is going to come into play in a minute in change requests when we talk about approvals, but it also gives us that flexibility as a part of this task system as well. Okay, so task email history. That's the ticketing system in a nutshell, right? Now we're going to move on to our other two workflows as a part of this tool set, which is problem and change management. At any point in time, like I'm going to bring this up, like I've already mentioned KBs, which is its own list, tasks, which is its own list, problems and change requests. They all have their own dashboards in the system. So if I mention problems or if I mention change, they can all be managed or created independently of a ticket, right? I like to show these being created from a ticket because I don't know, it just feels like it ties everything together nicer. But if you're like, hey, if I want to create a problem on my own or change requests on my own, you absolutely can from those dashboards. But problem management, talk about this a little bit. So let's say you get 15, 20, 30 tickets around the same issue, right? Like Jeff was mentioning it, like Outlook's down or, issue with application, right? And everyone starts flooding your inbox with, or your ticket list with, the same issue. What you can do is you can tie all those tickets to a parent problem. This essentially becomes a ticket of record. So you can go in and work the ticket as such, right? But you can tie all those sub tickets related to the problem, that when the problem closes, all of the child tickets close. So you don't have to go through and update one at a time, notify the end users. It's all happening in real time. So it just cuts down on work, right? On duplicate work. Like we've resolved the problem, now I got to go in and close every ticket. No, pass. It's going to do that automatically for you. Super nice, super handy. Now, change requests. Similar. Okay, dead horse, I know, but you can create a change as an independent entity or from a ticket. So let's say, well, again, okay, this kind of goes back to KBs, SLAs. Like, I get questions all the time, like, well, we're not using change now. Maybe with something we can add, great, no problem. We can always roll that feature out. Or if you are using change and want to throw it in, this is something that's new as well as a part of the SLA. Well, semi. We just have made the change request process very simple to set up. So let's talk about it. Maybe we look at this as this enhancement request as like a NITRO upgrade or a server update or something along those lines, right? So, heck, I don't know, laptop purchase, right? Someone comes in and says, hey, my laptop broke, I need a new one. Basically anything that we need that anything your end user needs or your staff needs that could potentially have an approval process associated with it. So how do we set that up? I mentioned custom actions earlier, right? And associated items, the approval tasks. So what we're doing we're in the technician's view. Let's shift to the admin view real quick and let's talk about change request. So essentially what you can do is you can configure or set up your own change request types, right? I have a few set up here: hardware change, software change, enhancement request, right? Application change, and who the associated approver is. Now you're like, okay, that's great, Ryan, but I need multiple people to approve. We can easily set up multiple levels as a part of this, right? So software change, yeah, I may be the, A level approver here, but in this case, it may be a software approval, and we also need John Smith to, have his input on this feature as well. So it gives us the ability to have multiple approval levels as a part of this change request process. So what does that look like in real time? Right. So we're gonna go ahead and select, hold on a sec, and make sure I do it right. Software change, make sure I'm the approver here. Software change, I'm gonna own it. James is gonna submit it, right? We'll put a due date in here. We'll capture all of our typical change details: components, costs, risk description, training requirements, etc. Okay. Before I hit submit for approval, I just want to talk briefly about custom actions. So I think it's like, who's your favorite kid, right? Like for me, like, what's your favorite feature of NITRO? It's up there. Custom actions and printing are probably my two favorites. Workflows are workflows. We all know what a workflow is, right? It's a workflow. Custom actions are manually invoked workflows, button-based. I touched on them earlier with assign or self-assign or reassign or assign to someone else as a part of the ticketing process. So why it's important in Office 365 is, if we're looking at this, let's say someone's building a change out and they're like, I don't quite have the cost set up. I don't quite know the cost yet, or what, I haven't quite finished the training requirements, but I want to go in and I just want to save this change request, save my work, and then come back to it without firing off the approval process. These custom actions give us that ability to do so, right? Out of the box, other tool sets, you just hit save, and there you go, the workflow fires off, right? Power automate, power ops, right? It gets created. In this instance, we're not going to fire off the approval process until the person is ready. So we see this replicated in a lot of our applications, purchasing being one, right? Like maybe you want to start a purchase rec and then come back to it eventually. But change request is another one of those. So what's it doing right now? It's querying this list. All right, who's the right person, right? Based off of this list. And then what it's going to do, it's going to go and create approval tasks as a part of this change request. So now as an approver, I have all my details, right? I can come in, I can see the change request, and now I get a notification saying, hey, Ryan, you need to come in and approve this change. So again, just to highlight why associated items is so important. First and foremost, multi-level approvals, right? 2 steps. Secondly, we still need the person working the change to have access to the form, right? They need to come in and be able to change this, but I don't want them to have access to the approval task, right? So how can I keep those separate? And basically we break it out into different forms. So now as an approver, I can come in and I can run a custom action to say, yep, this is approved. Stores my comments, right? Approval decision, comments, and now we can have that multi-step approval process as a part of this change request. Super flexible, super easy. Okay. And I know we're coming up at the top of the hour, so I'm going to open up for questions here in a minute. But one last thing I want to touch on before I do so is reporting. So I'm going to transition back to my manager's dashboard real quick. And like I was saying earlier, NITRO Studio, right, the flagships, the forms, the workflows, custom actions, reports, these guys get the most love, as they should, right? I mean, when you're building on a business process, these are the pieces that we need to create that. However, these other, I don't want to say ancillary pieces, but features of NITRO Studio do provide us a lot of flexibility when it comes to dashboard creation. So like you're seeing this tiles web part on this manager's dashboard, you're also seeing a list view. it just gives us a lot of flexibility with how we can present information to managers, end users, technicians as a part of this. So reports. We have a lot of reports in the out-of-the-box system. You know, staff load by ticket. You can get into ticket trends or ticket performances, how quickly we respond by technician, by ticket type, right? If we want to go into the SLA world, ticket breaches, tickets overdue, right? It just gives us a graphical interface for all of that data we're storing in the system as a part of this feature set. And the question I get most around the reports is, well, can I configure or create my own? Absolutely, absolutely. So as I'm loading this, you know, basically this is just an interface to the report tool here. I'm going to open this up from this interface. Learning curve, NITRO. Now, some things are steeper than others, right? I mean, we've all worked with applications. We all kind of know, you know, how quickly or how difficult things can be to pick up. I just really want to highlight the ease of use around the tool set. Forms, reports, now workflows, maybe, right? You might have a steeper learning curve, but, you know, configuring a report or changing those forms, I mean, really within an hour, we can get you guys spun up and dangerous on, you know, being able to go out and take ownership of your application without having that crutch of, shoot, I got to call Ryan again to change a column or update a column, right? It really is flexible. So maybe we want to see tickets by end user, right? And I'll run through this real quick. So what do we want? We want to see the tickets list, right? Maybe we want to see all open tickets. Me, I prefer bar charts. Okay, that's just me, but we do have different options. We're going to see, okay, in this case, end user would be requester, right? So we're going to say like, okay, we're going to say requester, alphabetical, right? End user. We're going to allow a drill down, show you why this is important in a second. And then maybe, well, we could just do end user, but maybe we want to see by status. So we'll do end user by status of request, right? And status. Okay, drill down. Then we're going to create a count. So we just want to see a total, right? So we're going to see the case ID and we want to count. And in what, a minute, I'm able to create a report and it also creates views, right? So I'll show me the 4 tickets that are unassigned that Ryan created. Click into it, brings me right to those tickets. So again, it just makes navigation easy. It just makes jumping from reports to views to tickets, you know, right back to where we started. Very simple, very straightforward. Here's our ticket form. There you go. Alrighty, well, that's my spiel on the help desk. I want to save these last 5 minutes for questions. So Jeff, Chris, I'm not sure if any questions came in that you guys want me to answer, but I'd be happy to do so in this time.
Yeah, so one question, I know that we have some existing customers here on this demo. And, you know, with the release of new features, I mentioned that we have some new features released in our latest version. The question is centered around, you know, can the migration around that, and specifically in this question was, can my tickets in my current Crow Canyon IT ticketing system, help desk, can they be migrated to the new NITRO 365 help desk system? So the answer is yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Jeff. Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, yeah, sorry. Right. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I had a pause there, so that was confusing. But no, absolutely. Yeah. So the tickets themselves can be migrated. We'd love to talk to you more about the details of what that migration path looks like. And so feel free to you know, to reach out to us directly, or we can reach out to you. We know who you are. We can reach out and provide some more information. There's another question here about integration with third-party solutions, in particular SAP. Do you want to address that, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the easy answer when talking about that is yes. Absolutely, we have integrations. We're actually going through an SAP integration with one of our customers right now. So blanketly, yes, right? I'll leave it there at the high level. Just to kind of give you a peek, we do, as a part of our workflow tool, because this question actually came up yesterday from one of our demos, like, do you use, oh, Jeff mentioned it earlier, do you use Power Automate, do you use Power Platform, right? We actually use our own, you know, the NITRO workflows as a part of this tool set. And one of the big things that talking about like premium connectors with Power Automate. It's like, how do we circumvent that if we're not going to use them? So what we've done is we've added the ability to invoke a web service as a part of our tool set, which gives us the ability to push and pull information to those third-party applications like SAP, like Oracle, various purchasing systems with all the different states. Absolutely.
Another good question is centered around demos. How do we, so appreciate you providing your information, the interest in a demo. But we've done a high level overview of this right now. And I know it's, we're almost done with the full hour here, and we'll get you, back to your day, but there's a lot to discuss. Every organization we speak to is unique. I think Ryan can attest to that. I mean, he's been here for a long time. He's done countless demos, and every organization, although there are core, you can see we have a feature set here. There's some core similarities amongst all organizations. Every organization does their thing their way. And I think that's the beauty of our solution is it's highly configurable when we have conversations with our prospects and our customers. There's always, well, can you do this? Can we do this? Or we'd like to do this. We'd like to do that. Very common that we have a requirements discussion to dive into that. And so, yes, that going through a demo, going through a discussion, I think that it becomes highly valuable in understanding how our solution meets our clients' demands and needs. And I think Ryan mentioned multiple times is that we have a robust feature set that not all our clients use. I think a lot of our clients that we work with are very practical, and they want a system that, one, is simple for the end users. They also want their technicians to be able to be efficient. And so I think the practicality of, a lot of our customer base is what we see even with new customers coming on board. However, we are an innovative company. We're, looking to drive innovation. In this case, we talked about AI. What can we do? How can we utilize the technology? But how can we utilize that technology in a practical way? So I think that's why these conversations and demos become, important in helping you make a decision as to what is the best solution for your organization. Now, I know we're at the top of that. We have 2 minutes left, and I'm good. Ryan, I think he's done with the demo. I want to, for all the attendees that are here, thanks so much for sticking around for the hour. Krista, let me hand it back over to you. Maybe, Ryan, you can give Krista control back over the screen, and we'll let Krista wrap it up.
Sure can.
Guys, yeah, Ryan, I know I've seen you demo so many times, but that was awesome to see so many different features, and really appreciate you taking the time to share that with all of us today.
Absolutely.
So now if anyone does want to go ahead and book your demo, we would suggest, let's go ahead and book a one-on-one demo so we can address your specific concerns, questions, organization. Go ahead and shoot us an email at hello@crowcanyon.com, or you can give us a call at 925-478-3110. So thank you so much again, everyone, for joining us today, and we look forward to meeting with you soon.